I've always done things the hard way. I don't know why, but somewhere in my past, I picked up the idea that by taking shortcuts or learning tips and tricks, I was somehow cheating. I'll be 50 in just over a month, and I hope that I have picked up a teeny tiny bit of wisdom over half a century. Thankfully, now I know that taking shortcuts with crochet isn't a bad thing. In fact, the opposite is true. There are so many tips and tricks out there that I wish that I had adopted sooner. I learned most of my crochet techniques the old school way. I even became a certified crochet instructor through the Craft Yarn Council, and while that is a fantastic program, there aren't a lot of tips and tricks embedded into the course curriculum. But today I'm sharing 5 crochet tips that I wish I had known about sooner, and these are the kind of tips that are going to help you to make crochet projects that turn out better. They're going to save you time, and they may possibly help save you from a big old headache. But what's even better is that I am teaming up with the crochet queen herself, Toni Lipsey of TL Yarn Crafts. So once you're done watching this video, make sure to head to Toni's channel to check out her 5 best crochet tips, because you know she's going to share some good ones. And if you're here from Toni's channel, welcome! I'm so glad to have you. My name is Elise, and I want to make you aware of a free resource that I have for you, and that's my website, EliseRoseCrochet.com. There you're going to find hundreds of blog posts with yarn reviews, free patterns, and crochet product tests, just to name a few. All of these tips come from the brand new book by Anna from the Knotty Boss. I've talked about Anna many times before. She is the queen of crochet printables, and I have always loved her crochet cacti characters. They are absolutely adorable. But Anna has grown quite a following for her crochet tips on her Instagram and her TikTok channel. They really are magnificent, but she has put them into this handy dandy book. This is Crochet Secrets from the Knotty Boss. This book has over 100 crochet tips, and this is the kind of resource that I love having in my library. The book is divided into 10 sections: the essentials, tying the knots, cracking the foundation, perfecting the rows, refining the rounds, working with color, secrets of amigurumi, effortless assembly, embellishing the edges, and flawless finish. The first tip is one that I wish that I had known about years before. When you are joining a chain in the round, it can become twisted very easily. Ask me how I know. And I don't know about you, but I have ended up with more twisted chains than I can count. And this tip, it really is a game changer. I will be doing this from this day forward. The first thing you're going to do is make a slip knot and begin chaining as normal. And then once you're ready to join your chain in the round, all you have to do is take out your hook and place it in the first chain that you made. But then take your hook and put it back into your working loop and pull it through. Voila! Your chain is joined and it isn't twisted. Tip number 2 is for those of you who have ever made a crocheted piece that ended up looking like a trapezoid and it wasn't supposed to. And one of the reasons for that could be that your tension on your chain is tighter than the rest of your work. So this next tip is going to help solve that problem forever. This is the chainless foundation, and I am kicking myself for not learning this sooner. I, like I said in the beginning, have always done things by the book. I have done it the standard way, the way that we're all taught, and I usually don't like to change the way I do things, but I will be from now on because this just makes sense. This alleviates the problem of your chain in your first row having different tensions, and after I show you how to do it, I'm going to tell you one of the biggest reasons why I'm going to be doing this from this day forward, and it really is a game changer. The first thing you're going to do is make 2 chains. Then you're going to insert your hook into the first chain and draw up a loop. And you're going to yarn over and pull it through the first loop only. Now this is an important stitch that sits to the side of your work, and it's the chain that you're going to work into for the next stitch. Now to complete this first stitch, you're going to then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook, and now you finish that first foundation single crochet. For the next stitch, you're going to put your hook back into that chain space that we made in the previous stitch, and we're going to pull up a loop. You're going to yarn over, pull through 1 loop, Then you're going to yarn over and pull through both loops. And then you're just going to keep repeating that pattern. What's great is that you can do this not only with single crochet, but half double, double, and treble crochet, and that's all in the book. But what is genius about the chainless foundation is that it has a ton of stretch. Typically, when you start off with just a series of chains and then you work your first row, it isn't stretchy at all. So for any project that I'm making that I want to have that stretchy beginning like a garment, I am going to be using the chainless foundation. I am so excited about this and I can't wait to use this on my next project. One thing I discovered while doing the chainless foundation is that I needed to keep my tension a little bit looser. That way it gave those stitches a little room to breathe and I felt like my tension looked better. One of my favorite sections of the book is Effortless Assembly. This section features stitched and no-sew joins for crochet pieces, and she is demonstrating these on granny squares, so I made some granny squares. I made 2 monochromatic granny squares from We Crochet Comfy, and we're going to talk about that yarn in just a minute. But typically when I'm making granny squares, I use the join as you go method, so I'm excited to try this invisible seam stitch. This is going to be fun. The invisible seam stitch is also called the mattress stitch or the ladder stitch, but what I love about it is that when you do it correctly, you're not going to be able to see that seam at all. Completely invisible. And although both of my granny squares have the same background color, what is fantastic about this method is that if you had 2 different granny squares that had different background colors this last round, you could join them together and you will not be able to see the seam at all. I left a long tail for one of the granny squares to seam with, but you could also just use a length of yarn that isn't attached. Either way is fine. What you're going to do is put your granny squares together with the wrong sides facing each other. The right sides are going to be facing out. And then we're going to make sure to line up our stitches so that they're matched up as best we can. And we're going to start in that corner and we're going to take our needle up through the center of the opposite stitch. And then we're working on the same granny square. We will take our needle down into the center of the next stitch and bring it up through the center of the next stitch. And notice that we're working across the stitches. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to take your needle into the center of the stitch directly across from where your yarn is coming up from. Then go across and put your needle into the center of the next stitch. You're going to repeat this all the way across the granny square. And at the end, just pull gently to close the gaps. I love how this turned out. It is so beautiful. I love that there's that invisible seam. This was just really fun to do, and now I want to make an entire granny square blanket with these colors or other monochromatic color combinations. I love how this looks. So I started with a darker and just worked my way out with lighter and lighter shades of green. I think that is so much fun. Now, this is the first time that I've ever used the We Crochet Comfy yarn. Where has this been my entire life? I'm obsessed right now. It's a worsted weight yarn and it's a cotton acrylic blend and it is so incredibly soft. So it's 75% Pima cotton and 25% acrylic. So it looks like a cotton, but it's got that little bit of stretch with the acrylic, so it didn't bother my hands at all, and it really is so soft. That Pima cotton is just, oh, it is so pretty. So of course then I went on the website and looked at all of the different colors. They have 34 different colors in total. So you might be hearing a little bit more about this yarn, and I am going to be testing some different things with this yarn. I want to see if it will be great for amigurumi. I have a very good feeling about it though, and it looks so great with granny squares. The amigurumi section of this book is my favorite part, and this tip is one that I use all the time. This is just a personal preference, but I love when my amigurumi toys have little rosy cheeks. Now there are several different ways to do this, and Anna shares that in the book, but this is the technique that I use all the time. This is my pattern, the Not So Big Bad Wolf, and I realized just today that he looked really sad because he didn't have any rosy cheeks. In the book, Anna recommends blush or even pink eyeshadow as a way to add that color. I also use blush, but I found that a cream-based blush tends to last longer. I have a small, firm bristle paintbrush that I use to apply it to the cheeks. I've even washed one of the toys in the washing machine and the blush was still there. One of my favorite amigurumi tips from the book is how to use felt for your amigurumi toys. This is such a great way to add character to your amigurumi toys, and I've used it for 2 of the ones that I've made. The first is a pattern by Aquari Wool. This is her Grumpy pattern. I think this one is so adorable, and I think he has so much personality with the felt behind the safety eyes. Try to imagine how much less expressive his face would be without it. The next pattern I used felt with was the Little Pig pattern from Green Frog Crochet. I ended up using my Cricut machine to cut these out because I wanted them to be very precise. So if you have a Cricut machine, it can cut felt. I like that by layering the felt pieces for the eyes, it gave this little pig an anime, kind of a cartoony look, and I think that is so much fun. There are other tips for how to use felt in the book as well. If you enjoyed these 5 tips, make sure to check out 95 more of them in Anna's book, Crochet Secrets from the Knotty Boss, and make sure to check out Toni's 5 tips. I know she's going to share some great ones, but I hope you have a great rest of your week. Stay safe and happy stitching.